What's up, you guys? Tyler Huxford here, and for today's video, we're going to talk about everything you need to know to purchase your first rental property. Now, I'm extremely passionate about this topic, as I largely attribute attaining millionaire status by the time I was 27 to learning this skill set. That is, identifying and running the numbers on potentially great rental property opportunities. And a lot of you have requested that I make this video talking about how I got started purchasing rental properties and how I'd run the numbers for new rental property opportunity investments today. So today, we're going to cover this, all of this. How to purchase your first rental property for those who are ready to join Team Monopoly in the real estate world. So let's jump in. Step number one, and perhaps even step zero realistically, is build a great credit score. Do this as early and as young as you can. You'll thank yourself later. Now, this doesn't mean go out there and go crazy in debt. All this means is get yourself a cashback credit card as young as you can and use that card responsibly, meaning you only purchase things that you can afford and you pay that card off weekly. It's going to take some time to build a great credit score, but when you get to the point that you're ready to invest on a rental property, you are going to wish that you had done this as early as possible. I certainly did. As somebody who didn't get a credit card until he was 25, I really wish I would have started building great credit earlier. The goal is to attain a credit score of 740 or higher, as this earns you the very best rates as both a homeowner as well as an investor. And the better the credit score you can bring to the table to a lender, the more money you'll be able to cash flow monthly as an investor. All right, step two. This is also something you should start as soon as you are able, which is to save for a 16.5% down payment on your home. This is obviously going to depend on the cost of homes and properties in your area, so you'll need to know this. That's going to be $16,500 for every $100,000 worth of home that you're evaluating. But the reason that you want to do this is because for investors with great credit, there are opportunities to purchase rental homes for as little as 15% down, with 1.5% being needed in additional closing costs, 16.5%. But for those of you who are first-time homeowners, where the home that you're looking to rent will actually be your first home, there are programs who exist for first-time homeowners for 10, 5, and as little as even 3% down. So 11.5, 6.5, and 4.5% down, including your closing costs. But it's good to save up to 16.5% because lenders like to see that you have 15 and even as much as 20, 25% down to put down on a house. The more cash you have when going to a lender, the better the options you'll have when it comes to lending, and the smoother the purchasing process will be. And even if you are a first-time home buyer, me personally, I always recommend you put at least 15% down on a home. And the reason for that is simply with 15% down, your monthly mortgage is very manageable. So start saving for that down payment as soon as you can. It's a great idea to learn to become a great saver anyways. Even if you're not saving for a down payment for a house, you will thank yourself for learning to save well. I've made a video already, which I'll put the link right here for you guys, which goes over exactly how you can become a world-class saver. Okay, step three, get a good real estate agent. Because opportunities for great investment are going to vary location for location, you're going to have to do your own research and self-education on where the great opportunities are, where they're priced, and even what class of rental property you're gonna wanna purchase. A condo, a multifamily, a single family. You're gonna wanna know these things. Obviously, you're going to do some of that research on your own, but you can significantly reduce your self-education time. Now, keep in mind, no two real estate agents are equal. You want to reach out to somebody who's been in the business a while. There are even real estate agents out there who have absolutely specialized in rental properties, some who have purchased their own rental properties, like myself. These tenured professionals can really be a resource and an asset to you, even a team member, in helping you ultimately determine where the great opportunities are, and can even bring to you hidden opportunities that you won't find on a Zillow or a Redfin by simply bringing you great MLS listings or listings that potentially haven't hit the public yet. Step four, find a good lender. You want to do this because you want to make sure that you receive pre-approval before taking any steps towards purchasing a rental property. This will also help you understand what you're approved for. So that way you can really hone in and focus on properties you already know that you can afford. There are a lot of great options out there, which are great rentals, but not necessarily for the first-time home buyer. By going to a lender, you can automatically rule those out by knowing what you can afford. Now, when you meet with the lender, some of the things they're going to want to see is they're going to want to see proof of employment. They're going to want to see 2 years of tax returns. If you don't have 2 years of tax returns, that's fine. Still find a great lender anyway. A lender can coach you on everything you need to bring to the table in order to be able to pull the trigger on a great rental property when you're ready. Okay, now we can assume that you've got a team member of a lender as well as a real estate agent. You've built a great credit score and you've got that 16.5% down payment. Now we get into the more exciting steps. So step 5, research and know your ideal location. So there are things that I absolutely want to know at the end of the day about any city or location that I'm evaluating for purchasing a rental property. One of those is going to be local laws and ordinances. I want to know, am I going to be able to long-term, mid-term, or short-term rent in my area? I'm also going to want to know, are there any HOAs in the area and what are the rules associated with those specific HOAs? Maybe there's neighborhoods that I want to avoid completely if my strategy is to purchase a property for rental. Do you need a business license? Are rentals capped in your area where only a certain percentage of homes can actually be rentals in a city? And maybe they've already reached that cap limit. You're going to want to know these things. But then there's a few other things that you're going to want to know about your area. For example, what's going to bring tenants to my location in terms of vacations, tourism, and travel? Is it a university town where I'm going to have lots of students coming to the area? Are there local employers that are going to bring families and employed tenants to my area? Is it a military town in which there may be opportunity for government contracts to go ahead and rent out to service members in our community? Identifying these things are going to help you understand the next step, which is understanding who lives in your area. Is it students, young professionals? Is it an ideal spot for families? Are there schools in the area? Understanding who you're going to be renting to is important, as this is also going to help you determine what that specific clientele can afford and what they're looking for in a rental property. The last thing I'm going to throw in here as part of this step is the recommendation that for your first rental property, I strongly recommend you focus on areas that are local to you. Everything I went over in this list are absolutely important things to know. You're going to need to do this research once and then over and over and over again as you own that property. There are going to be socioeconomic changes that take place as you own the property, and you want to be close to those changes. You want to know as employers start laying off employees, as schools change their programs, as tourist attractions are starting to shut down, you're going to want to know how that impacts your property, and you're also going to want to be able to drive straight to your property in the event of an emergency. And if the first rental property you're looking at is a place like on a beach somewhere far away from you, that's really not ideal, especially as a first-time investor purchasing a rental property. There's kind of a learning curve to owning a rental property, and you're absolutely going to want to learn with a property that is close to you. Take my word for it. Step number 6, this is where we get into the numbers. Research the average rent in your location. So you're going to want to know what the average rent is for a similar class property in your area. And I look at this from 2 angles. The first angle is space utilization. So I want to know, what does a place rent for room if I'm offering just a private room to a tenant? What does an entire apartment or house rent for? What does a basement apartment rent for? And then the second angle I like to look at is lease length. What does a place rent for long-term, meaning a year or longer, mid-term, meaning month to month, up to a year, and nightly rentals, short-term stays. You're going to want to grab about 10 comparisons in your area and make sure that you can find 5 locations that are charging more than what you anticipate and 5 locations which charge a little less. You're also going to want to look into these locations to see how well they compare with the spot you're evaluating in terms of bedrooms, bathrooms, and then just overall amenities. This is a skill set that takes some practice, but you should already be doing this even as you're looking for rentals to even go to showings for. Facebook Marketplace is a great place for this. Rentler's a great place for this. Craigslist is always a good option. And then depending on your area, every area has its own local platforms that potential tenants go to look for housing. And you'll want to use those as you put together your comps as well. Step 7, calculate your expenses. So this is the most important piece. And the most important expenses that you're going to want to calculate are your mortgage, taxes, and insurance. I simply do this by going to the Google Mortgage Calculator, and I make sure to toggle the option to include insurance, and taxes. That enables you to include your location, your credit score, as well as the overall mortgage you're expecting to take on based on that 16.5% down payment. That's going to be the most important expense to understand, but those aren't the only expenses. Later on, I'm going to be posting a video which will dive very in depth on how to run the numbers on a great rental property, but for the purposes of this video, here are some to consider. You're going to want to consider repairs, especially for older homes. What I like to do is factor in about $100 a month for repair costs. Some people like to factor in things like vacancy rates, where they might factor in that there might be 1 month a year where they can't find any tenants, and then they divide that by 12 and then apply that cost monthly. You also want to include things like HOA fees, like utilities, like Wi-Fi, any expenses that tenants won't be paying for. Make sure you understand these numbers well and that you think through every worst case scenario you can think of. When running the numbers, you want to be as conservative as possible. All right, now that we know our average monthly rent as well as our monthly costs, now we can begin to calculate our monthly profit. And this is step 8. So we take our average monthly rent, we subtract our monthly costs. This is going to give us our monthly profit. This might be $500, this might be $1,000, this might be $1,500, or this might be a loss. And by the way, I never recommend, especially for a first-time investor, to ever purchase a property that doesn't at least break even. And I would even say your first property should be cash flow positive. You want to make sure you're increasing your income with that first rental property. But even if we're netting $500, we still don't know if this is a good investment based off of the down payment that we're putting down to purchase a property. So we need to run some more calculations. So step 9, we want to calculate our annual profit. So to do this, we just take our monthly profit and we multiply that by 12. That's going to give us our annual profit. And now for step 10, this is the most important part. We're going to calculate our cash on cash return on investment. Cash on cash return is simply the return on investment we make based on the down payment we paid to acquire a property. This can also be thought of as the time period it takes for us to recoup the initial investment we made on the house through that down payment. To do this, we simply take our annual profit, which we just calculated, and we divide it by the overall down payment we put down towards the house. Then we multiply this number by 100. And my general rule of thumb as an investor is if this number turns out to be 15% or more, then we have found a great rental opportunity. The reason for that is simple, because the way I think about it is if I'm not using the 16.5% down payment that I saved towards a house, I'm going to be putting that into the stock market. So I compare the return on investment of a rental to the overall return I would expect if I had invested that money in the stock market. If you invest in the good old-fashioned S&P 500, your money usually shows a return of 8 to 12% a year. So any amount you're earning over 12% is more than you could expect from a typical year in the stock market. Now, obviously keep in mind that in addition to the 15% cash on cash return you're earning month over month towards additional income, you are also benefiting from your home's value appreciation. In the Utah market, it's typical to expect about a 5% increase in equity value towards a home each year. Now, I personally don't factor in that equity increase of a home into my numbers here. As somebody who likes to purchase properties and then hold long term, I want to make sure that the income I'm generating each month earns me more than the stock market could. And folks, if you can master the skill set of first assembling a great team between your agent and your lender, secondly, conducting the research, and lastly, crunching the numbers to understand your return on investment, then you are set to not only increase your annual and monthly income with rental properties, but also build wealth through $500,000 assets and above. That's it for today's video, folks. Hopefully you enjoyed this content. If you do, make sure you like and subscribe. We're also doing a giveaway here. So at 100 subscribers, I'm going to be drawing names for anyone who commented on any of my videos here for Hux. You have to be subscribed to the channel and you have to comment on the video here for Hux to enter. At 100 subscribers, I will be drawing names for anybody who made those comments, and the winner will receive a $100 Amazon gift card sent directly to their door. Hopefully you are already subscribed. Join the Tyler Huxford family, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video, folks. Safe investing out there.